Greg, what's going on with you? Greg, you have almost knocked over this entire table. You have knocked over your thermos. You've knocked over all of your papers. You've been here 9 seconds. Like how per second clumsiness. Like what's going on with you today?
I don't know.
Are you okay?
I'm perfect. Yeah. Thanks for referring to this as a thermos.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that word used in decades.
What is it?
It's a thing of coffee.
A water bottle.
A water bottle with coffee in it.
Coffee bottle.
Wait a minute.
Thermos is a brand name,
Wait a
isn't
minute.
it?
Roy.
I think it is, yeah.
Roy.
Like Band-Aid.
What would
Exactly.
you, thank you, Billy, what would you refer to this as? Because I don't
A canteen.
Canteen.
Wow, canteens are round,
This is
though.
not
they
a
are.
canteen.
Look,
I think canteens need a strap also.
I can't see
You're right.
shit.
Yeah.
It's not a thermos. I'll tell you that. Literally, it isn't a thermos. That's a capital T. That's a trademark, I believe. I could be wrong.
Well, but when I asked you what it was, you said a thing of water, which I know is
of coffee.
But I'm closer to being accurate in describing it than you are. When, regardless, you
It's
dropped
a vessel.
it.
It's a coffee vessel. How's that?
That's not what anybody would call this. It's not a coffee vessel.
It's a canister, maybe.
It's a vessel. It carries the coffee from there to Greg's mouth.
It's a bottle, really. It's bottle-like.
I can't see what you're talking about, but I'm picturing a thermos.
It's thermosy.
No, Thermos is a brand. Greg's right.
Thank you,
Like
Billy.
Chapstick is a
Yep.
brand for lip balm.
Don't thermoses have like the twist off top that also doubles as a cup?
Jell-O
not
is
sure.
a brand for gelatin.
You can do this all show if you want.
Well, I'm running out.
You could do it all week if you could do it all week if you like. If you want
Q-tip?
that to be your contribution throughout the show, because you're right. But you all knew what I meant when I said thermos, and I still think I'm closer to right. That more people would call that a thermos than a vessel. More people would call that a thermos than a bottle
Jet ski?
than a bottle of water.
Bubble wrap.
Bubble wrap is a trade name? I
Jacuzzi.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Crock pot.
Ooh.
Seeing eye dog. Wait a minute. What is this list?
I thought crockpot is when Stugotz smoked marijuana.
Hey.
Let me see if I can find it.
Good.
Kleenex.
Deserve that.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat from the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go on, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man, so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let her tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Roy, I want you to tell me on first reference what you would refer to this as if you had to give it a name.
I would give it the name water bottle.
Water bottle is probably closer than
Really? What if there's coffee in it instead of water?
thermos. Then it would
Good
be a
question.
There's
water,
multiple uses for
Coffee bottle.
water
There you go.
bottle holding coffee.
Vessel.
Billy,
It's a vessel for sure.
Yeah. What did I do?
how happy were you about what LeBron did yesterday as someone who has accused LeBron for many, many years here
What?
of being someone who loves attention, goes out of his way to seek attention, brought his own bottle of wine to sit right in the middle of Cleveland's postseason and get great seats, incidentally. I don't think those seats are
Best
easy.
seats in the house.
I don't think
Imagine
those
that.
seats are easy to get at the last minute. I know Greg Cody.
Well, it is if you download the Game Time app, Dan. Use promo code Dan. He probably took advantage of a flash deal. Maybe he was trying to figure out exactly what his seats would look like there and couldn't picture a courtside seat in his mind. So he opened up the app and he opened up Game Time and he saw exactly what his view might be over there. And it's not just sporting events; it's concerts, it's comedy shows. Really, Game Time has entertainment on lock and great customer service, low price guarantee. If you find something out there, you'll get your money back and more. Nothing is going to beat Game Time when it comes to pricing or customer service. That is promo code DAN.
Little early for that.
Well done. The rare live spot inside of a minute of our show.
What do you save?
that's
$20?
great.
That's
$20 off your
It's the
first
earliest
purchase
we've
if
ever
you
done
use
live,
that
yes.
promo code DAN.
Pricey seats, but $20 is $20, Dan.
Lowest price guaranteed.
That has never happened that early in the show before. I have scrolling across my phone as he does this. I have not seen this before. Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker bashes Pride Month, tells women to stay in the kitchen is the Yahoo headline. I'm going to read that during the break, and I'm going to consume that. All I've gotten so far is the headline.
Can we go back to LeBron or a thermos or Game Time?
It's an easy distraction what LeBron does. Last night in Cleveland, he sits right in the middle of the festivities, and
I'd argue it was selfless what he did yesterday. You have to look to see the bigger picture of what was going on there, because the news that was coming out of the day, Dan, was that Bronny is not as big as we thought that he was. And he also isn't very good, apparently. But somehow is at the Combine and is eligible for the NBA draft that no one really thinks that he should be drafted in. So what's going on here? Because the story we've been told is LeBron dreams of playing with his son. However, his son probably shouldn't be in the NBA. Not that I'm saying. I wouldn't
what was
say
that?
such
I
a
didn't.
thing.
Yeah, but I didn't understand
Well
anything
said.
that
Say
you
it
said
again,
there.
though.
What did you say? Okay, that's
Playing in the NBA. I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say probably shouldn't be playing in the NBA. Some are saying that that's a situation. But for his son to play in the NBA, what do you have to do? You have to find a landing spot. And then you start looking around, looking at all the different teams in the league. Where has he played? Where has he hasn't? It seems as though the Lakers isn't going to be a thing anymore. Maybe they will be. Maybe they won't be. But what's a comfy landing spot? Cleveland.
Yep.
Because if Bronny gets drafted and he goes to New York with the Knicks, they're having a great season this year. There's going to be expectations next year. And if Bronny's not that good, the Boo Birds are going to be coming out for Bronny James. You know what I mean? And you don't want that. So you go to a familiar place. Literally, a familiar place. Family, home, the land, if you will. And who comes to the land? Not only their favorite son, their favorite grandson
Boom.
is coming with daddy. He's bringing daddy back home to finish his career where it started. A perfect storybook ending for the LeBron James career. And who did that? Bronny James did that. So no matter how bad he is and whether he belongs to the NBA or not, doesn't matter, because he brought daddy home. And he's there for the storybook ending. No Boo Birds for Bronny James if they return to Cleveland.
Well, let's play this from last night, just the standing ovation. This is quite the turn if you've been watching the last 15 years.
Cavalier fans, welcome back to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse from St. Vincent, St. Mary High School in Akron, Ohio. Number 23, LeBron James.
That's it. Really is crazy. The story arc. He's the oldest player in the NBA, and this is what Brian Windhorst had to say: that several NBA executives were curious about that visit last night because LeBron's postseason doesn't start that early usually. And this is the Windhorst quote. I will say this. The first thing I thought of was this moment 10 years ago where LeBron showed up to a game in Cleveland while he was a player for the Miami Heat to honor Zydrunas Ilgauskas' jersey retirement, his longtime teammate. And he got in a private plane, flew from Chicago over to Cleveland on an off night. Pat Riley was not happy, and a few months later, he signed with the Cavs. He's extremely strategic, and I wish I could tell you I knew exactly what he is doing. I don't pretend to know, but he's got to be up to something.
Yeah. They retired Big Z's jersey?
That's crazy.
I mean, that's nuts.
I mean, Memphis just retired Tony Allen.
They had
jersey.
nothing
What?
until LeBron. Like,
That is hilarious.
Which one? Big
Z.
Big Z is funnier
is.
to you than
Oh,
Tony.
Big Z's got more merit.
Big Z
I
was.
guess he does, but LeBron attending it, that's great.
Tony Allen was at least the
Chris.
the lockdown defender.
Well,
in the
he
league.
was the grind father.
Chris, I don't know. I'm going to look up some stats during the break, but I'd argue that Big Z, after maybe Brad Daugherty, Big Z might be one of the best players in Cavs history.
Yeah. Plus, it might have actually been a move to get LeBron back into the building.
It worked.
Yeah, just based on merit alone, they were probably like, he's on the edge, but LeBron played with him, and there's a chance he comes to the jersey retirement ceremony. Also, white pants for LeBron. Well, you got a bottle of cab between your legs. That is a dangerous game.
Well, I want to talk about all that because I don't imagine a lot of people would be allowed into that arena with a bottle of wine.
That's crazy. It probably violates all kind of laws.
Is there more precedent for that or for a 6'1" combo guard that averaged 5 points a game with a heart ailment entering the draft being talked about as a first rounder?
Now, in fairness, Brian Windhorst came out and said, yes, he was undersized, but he was a lot better shooter than most people thought. And he was in great shape and actually had a good day yesterday.
Just let me just for perspective.
Say it again, because Stugotz wasn't listening. He was waiting for you to stop talking. He was waiting for the words to stop, the sounds to stop coming out of your mouth so that he could say what he wanted to say. But say it again.
What is the precedent for someone who they told us was 6'4", but is actually 6'1.5", who averaged just 5 points a game in college and is entering the league with a known heart ailment?
Right.
What is the precedent for that? Because I'm going to rattle off a player right now who also had a famous dad, who was actually 6'3" and averaged 12.5 points per game in college. Marcus Jordan was not talked about in these circles. Wow. He was not talked about as an NBA prospect. What is it with Bronny James?
You get LeBron, and LeBron's still playing at a very high level. Michael wasn't at the time. He was done. Michael was done. So you get Bronny just to get LeBron. Nothing wrong with that. And what a great dad.
Okay.
Seriously.
So
to
you're
leverage his situation to make money for his son, what a great dad. Dad of the year, I would say.
So you're just drafting Bronny James, essentially wasting a draft pick in the hopes of luring LeBron James.
Yes.
I would.
Yes.
I certainly would.
Yes.
You know, there's a spot on the end of the bench for everybody. Like, no matter how bad Bronny is relative to NBA standards, there's a 15th spot. What's the roster, 12 or 15?
It'd be good for you to know that before saying that there's a spot at the end of the bench for everybody.
There's a 15th spot on the roster for Bronny anywhere in the league as long as dad comes with him. You know, personally, I don't believe in nepotism. I don't think a father should do anything. I think a son should be on his own. But in this case, it's a package deal, and any team in the league would still love to have LeBron at age 40 next year, which is remarkable. Maybe the most remarkable thing in a remarkable career is that at age 40, he is still near the top of the game. Anybody would want him.
Greg, we talked about this yesterday. What if this is the new Shabazz Napier, where you draft him thinking this leads to LeBron coming to your team, and then you just get Bronny James?
He shot well yesterday, as Stugotz mentioned. He's also got a 42-inch vertical leap, which was one of the best at the combine.
And Shabazz Napier was also 6'1".
Yeah. And what Mike Ryan is saying is correct. But LeBron exerting power is as the oldest player in the league. And I'm just going to read the last part of that sentence again, because Windhorst, if you've been following the history of this, Windhorst is and has become an exceptional reporter, but it all started with Windhorst covering LeBron in high school. Windhorst's entire career started covering LeBron better than anybody. To be in 2024, 20 years, more than 20 years after Windhorst was covering LeBron, and Windhorst to report, I wish I could tell you I knew exactly what he's doing. I don't pretend to know, but he's got to be up to something. Is a tremendous report from LeBron's number one insider as he gets a standing ovation in Cleveland. Again, I will tell you, Stugotz, it's a weird game for him to be at. You don't do that unless you know you're going to invite a lot of this attention that Billy says that he craves when we're not talking about him. At this point in the season and in his career, you tell me all the other times in the second round that we haven't been talking about him, because we're always
on the court. Right.
That's correct.
Yes.
And so he's going to find a way to get into that conversation, and it is one of his superpowers, the economy of relevance around him. It's not just the economy around him, which is enormous. He comes to a city and he makes it matter more, and he brings a ton of money with him, and he's underpaid no matter what you pay him. Underpaid no matter what you pay him, because in a salary cap sports, there are limits on what it is you can pay him, and he's always worth more than that.
I just can't believe that he's 39, going to be 40 years old, and he's going to control another offseason because he is perceived now for certain teams, Dan. I'll have to see how the playoffs play out, but he is perceived because he's playing at such a high level still that he could be a missing piece for certain teams in the NBA.
Well, how about that one?
Like a team like the Knicks.
No, but how about the one that he's visiting yesterday?
Well, I think he could be. If Donovan Mitchell stays and you have LeBron James, you have Jared Allen, you have those guys, I think he potentially could be a missing piece. Plus, the Eastern Conference is so much easier. The Celtics are not playing their A game by any stretch, and they're about to breeze into the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, the Celtics are about to breeze into the finals with one of the easiest paths I've ever seen to the finals.
Right.
I wasn't super impressed with them last night either. Just getting it over the line against a Donovan Mitchell-less Cleveland Cavs team.
But what are we doing there? Seriously, we bash Jason Tatum. When they lose game 2 at home, we bash the Celtics.
I guess what we're doing is we're like the only ones that bash Jason Tatum.
Right.
He's living a very charmed existence right now. And I want to see him just you know how a couple years ago I wanted to see Steph Curry just do it in the finals?
Right.
Because there wasn't really a finals where he had the best performances. Maybe you can talk about gravitational pull and all that, but I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see him take over a series and unquestionably be the best player on the court. And then he did it, and we're good.
All right.
I'm there with Jason Tatum. He's been in the league for a while now.
Right.
I know he's young, but he's been playing in important games for a very long time now. I'm very confused by this player.
So you're saying nothing short of winning an NBA championship will have you praising Jason Tatum? He has to do that.
Well, but the thing is,
just be really good.
In the finals.
If he loses to Jokic in the finals, who I think is maybe you could have an argument for greatest basketball player of all time, sure, but go out like a soldier.
I would say that I thought that you holding Steph Curry when you did to that standard was asinine, though I understand how and why you arrived there. And I would say that Jason Tatum's resume at his age is only missing that. His age, because he's 25, the number of Eastern Conference Finals, very few players of that age have that kind of winning that early in their career. Jordan didn't. No, Jordan did not have that kind of winning, even that much, because it doesn't happen for players that early. It doesn't Anthony Edwards has a chance to do it, but what Tatum has done both statistically and with team success, super unusual for that age.
He's been on really good teams, though. Jordan and LeBron.
But he's been the best player on those teams.
Well, some people would say Kyrie was on that one team. Some people would say that. But I'm saying he had teammates like Kyrie and like Jaylen Brown.
He's been the best player on teams that have had a lot of success at a very young age.
Also, did that Kyrie team do much? I think that was
they did a lot when he got hurt.
It did not.
Yeah, when Kyrie got hurt, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. So I think they actually performed better with him. It's kind of, you have to remind yourself that Kyrie was a Celtic at this point.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little more about the strategy in doing what he did yesterday in the middle of the playoffs. I have not seen LeBron James sitting courtside with his wife and a bottle of wine in the middle of playoff action very often in my life. And I don't believe that was just because he wanted a night out with his wife. I believe that the Windhorse report is right. Quote, he's got to be up to something.
So you don't think that he sat down with his wife, we're bounced out of the playoffs, he looked at the calendar, he said, hey, Monday night, we have an open night. Let's take in a Cavs game.
Maybe it was a Mother's Day gift.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know what to make of it. And I'm asking you guys to maybe help me make something out of it, because I was watching Get Up briefly on mute, and I saw them talk about two basketball topics. It was what LeBron was doing and ESPN basically being used as a propaganda machine to get Kevin Durant out of Phoenix.
Let's talk about this for a second.
What is happening with the aging stars taking over the narrative where the main sports cable channel is, Luka's a star, SGA is a star, that is an even series right there. But instead of talking about the stars of today and potentially tomorrow, we're doing this with guys pushing 40, and it's just interesting to me. Are we just so incapable of talking about new topics? We've just been lulled into talking about KD and LeBron and their off seasons potentially for 20 years that this is all we want to do now?
It is an interesting thing to watch, the reluctance of the media to give the story over to the action on the court and the young people who have taken the sport away from the old people. But these two old people, specifically that you speak of, are the ones who introduced us to an entirely new age of how we consume all this stuff, and their movement is more relevant off the court than it is on the court until you get to the games with giant stakes. This probably wouldn't happen or feel like this during the finals. But when you've got this absence of star power we're familiar with, and you've got Jokic, who doesn't have an embrace that America has warmed to, you get this kind of thing. And are you saying that Stephen A. Smith and Kevin Durant are now in cahoots? Because we have this sound of Stephen A. Smith, and at one time, I've never seen a journalist do this on television to a star athlete before Stephen A. Smith did it.
You don't want to make an enemy out of me. And I'm looking right into the camera, and I'm going to say it again. You do not want to make an enemy out of me. I'm not having it.
So we, of course, turned that into a movie trailer because it did sound like an action star talking.
I sit here today incredibly offended by the personal attack that this man has put against me.
In a world with hot takes, his takes might be the hottest.
Kevin Durant is the one that's lying.
Kevin Durant is in too deep.
You know, I made a mistake.
With a man you don't want to make an enemy out of. The Slim Reaper versus the suit with 400 buttons.
I don't want to hear from you, and nobody else should either.
McDonald's All-American.
Am I human? Do you look at me that way?
Versus McDonald's commercial.
Had I had to come on the air that next day, I can promise you it would have been very bad.
Stephen A. Smith.
Forget the numbers. You don't need them. Look at his eyes.
Versus Kevin Durant and them boys.
You the real MVP.
You won't want to be on his Journa hit list.
You don't want to make an enemy out of me. And I'm looking right into the camera, and I'm going to say it again. You do not want to make an enemy out of me. I'm not having it.
He's writing your fate, and he's up against a deadline.
But since then, since their public beef, Stephen A. has been on air, a pretty good ally for Kevin Durant, quietly, because everyone thinks of their initial beef. But he goes on First Take earlier this week, and he says, like, keep an eye out at Kevin Durant. He's not happy there. He keeps to himself. And they're sort of kind of using Stephen A. Smith. He gets great information, but Stephen A. Smith on the other side is also pushing this very well-informed opinion that Kevin Durant is unhappy over there. So it's just bizarre that these guys aren't really mattering on the court right now, and yet they're leading the discussions when they're not who they once were. Greg, your breathing is very loud. Yeah. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's just
That was
very
his
loud.
first word, I think.
It's a nice reminder that you're still kicking. I appreciate it.
We're going to miss that when it's gone.
Yeah, seriously.
Him breathing?
Yes.
I'm not the only one that hears it, right?
Well, him.
No, I hear it.
No, I meant the breathing, because then he too will be gone. Those things go hand in hand.
Yeah, you sort of have to breathe.
Not into the mic when
Not-
other people are talking.
For the love of God. By the way, if I can say this. Oh, we're out of time. I didn't hear a horn.
Chris Cody, I do not condemn you for this because it's something I see not just throughout sports, but basically throughout a ton of commentary that doesn't have a grasp of history that happened just a little before Big Z became a joke to you, for example, because the last parts of Zydrunas Ilgauskas' career, when LeBron brought him over in 2010, is worthy of your laughter. But Big Z has the second most games for the Cavs ever, second most rebounds, second most points, all behind LeBron only, and the most blocks in franchise history. So if you're not going to retire his number, there aren't a lot of other ones for you to retire.
But you're doing it because you're desperate, because you have no other jerseys to retire. I mean, that's not a reason to retire someone's jersey.
I'm seeing on some website that he's the 5th best Cav of all time, so he should be, I guess, celebrated. It's just hilarious to me.
So we take a shot at cable television for being retreads about talking about topics from a bygone era with LeBron and KD possibly moving teams, and we're relitigating the jersey retirement of Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Just laughing at it.
Yeah.
Too many retirements, too many jerseys being retired.
Well, has there been one less recently that you guys have seen that felt less worthy to you than Tony Allen getting his jersey retired in Memphis? Because I understand they've retired a couple of jerseys recently. I don't even remember what the other one was, but I had a reaction to the other one, and then that was erased in my memory by, and they're retiring Tony Allen's, which seemed excessive.
Udonis Haslam.
Oh, God.
I'm going to hide now.
God, come on, man.
Well, that hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's happening.
It's been announced.
But it has it been announced?
Yeah.
When the first
Just like Tony Allen.
When the first stat you say about someone is most games played, that is just always a
that screams compiler.
Yeah.
Again, though,
lead with games played.
it's second most games played, but also I said point second, rebound second, behind only LeBron, blocks first.
Haslam's number is already retired. It's in the rafters already.
Oh, there
No,
you
he's
go.
saying that's an embarrassing one, I think, is what he was saying.
I don't think that's embarrassing at all. Not at all.
Stu said it. I didn't say it.
I didn't say anything.
You're a fool!
Embodiment of heat culture.
Yeah, he invented heat culture. UD did.
Well,
win 06 without him.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Tony Allen is to Memphis whatever it is Miami thinks Udonis Haslam is to Miami. Just
grindfather.
Same kind of guy. What do you mean blasphemy?
Tony Allen?
He's a grindfather of the grindhouse.
That's how people talk about Udonis, like that
Correct.
on Miami.
Yeah, but he won.
I know, but in Memphis, they would talk about Udonis exactly the same way. I think there was a comedian, that went on his podcast. Was it Gary Owens? That went on his podcast and said to Udonis's face that his last 5 years with the Heat was a Make-A-Wish kid. That's what Udonis was. And Udonis allowed it, that the whole thing, because he just sat on the bench for 5 years. Because he is not afraid to say to Udonis's face what Stugotz would never say to Udonis's face. In fact, you kind of hid under the desk while trying to say what you did say.
I did. All we're saying about Big Z, by the way, is no one would have them on their Cleveland Cavalier Mount Rushmore. I mean, nobody. It would be LeBron, it would be Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, and Larry Nance. It's easy.
And by the way, the fact that the Heat for 5 years had that last spot on the bench for UD verifies what I said earlier about Bronny. There's always a spot on the end of the bench for useful people who aren't useful on the court.
Billy, are you laughing because you know that Stugotz was looking that up? There's no way that...
Well, no, I asked him. Kyrie's not on your list?
No, please.
I mean,
stop.
the shot.
What shot? I mean, the shot he hit in the NBA Finals. His teams were so lousy before LeBron decided to come back, and then Kyrie hit that shot and only hit that shot and had the opportunity to hit that shot because LeBron decided to come back.
I thought you were talking about the shot he wouldn't take.
Look, I'm a sports meathead, so I truly don't mean to have a larger conversation about nepotism and make LeBron James all of a sudden be the face of it, answer for nepotism and how it's unfair. No, I'm not going to do that. But this is truly bizarre with Bronny James. Like, it's so bizarre that we're just taking the news that he's 2.5 inches shorter than they told us, just like in stride, because we all know the deal. You draft Bronny, you have an inside track on a dude who's currently under contract with another team. I understand why it's all unprecedented. We've never had a child superstar fulfill the promise the way that LeBron James did. We've never had a basketball player play this well at his age. We've never had one have a son come into the league potentially. I understand why it's all unprecedented, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be talking about it in terms that are like, this is unreasonable.
When I used to talk about Michael Jordan and the most improbable things that he did, Stugotz, I put at the top of the list making bald cool. Like just under it was defying gravity and the championships and everything else. When Greg Cody says, and you can, say that this is science or modern medicine, but when Greg Cody says on the resume that has so much on it, including somehow meeting the expectations that came with being 16 years old, and no one would look at his body of work and say that he underachieved from there. He met whatever the expectations were, and they were unprecedented expectations for a 16-year-old coming into the league.
Skip Bayless would say it.
Okay, one person would say it, and no one would make an entire media career out of saying it because he was the only one willing to say it because it was an asinine thing to say again and again. When Greg Cody says this value at this age might be the most impressive thing on the entire resume, I'm not sure I can argue it. Like, there's a number. He revolutionized what can be done at that size by a player.
And he's still doing it. I mean, to average 26 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists a game this year, which is what he averaged, it's insane. And the fact that he is going to be one of the guys in free agency that controls yet another offseason is insane. I'm starting to gain more and more respect for LeBron as he gets older.
Is it like
both
Brady?
as a player and a dad?
Especially when he's not up. Like, he's just forcing this to be a conversation. They've already blown out their head coach. He's just making this a thing when he's under contract. And I understand doing this certainly for LeBron in his prime. But how much longer is he going to possibly be doing this? You really got to waste. A draft pick's important. I mean, those. I understand you're saying there's 15 guys. I'll give one of them to Bronny James, but you can set your franchise back by doing this potentially.
It is a bad draft, though.
But it is a bad draft. Poor Atlanta. No Wembayama this year. But
take Bronny.
Yeah, there you go. When you say that LeBron turning 40 is still in his prime and might be for another couple of years.
No one said that.
That's the truth. That's what I'm saying right now.
No, you can't say that.
I can say that.
No, you can't
yes,
say
you
that.
can
say it.
No, you can't.
Why?
I think
They're his words.
I think LeBron is as good as he's ever been.
Thank you.
That's
Stugotz.
crazy. You're not watching.
Excellent commentary. They are his words.
Well, he
You are
thinks,
correct.
he said. He didn't say it as a fact. He said he thinks.
His defense has 100% taken a decline.
Just so we're clear, LeBron has a player option. He is scheduled to make $54 million this year from the Lakers, but he can opt out if he wants.
You cannot say
He can work for free.
that LeBron
He should work
James
for free.
is
What?
in his prime.
I think he is.
Why? What do you? Stugotz, go sit outside.
No, Dan,
just go
hear
sit
me out
outside.
for a second.
No.
1 second.
No,
Give him a shot.
In 2 minutes, I'll hear you out. In 2 minutes, you can come back with
disappointing.
whatever
Should have left
that,
with the Haslam.
whatever that
opinion there.
thought is.
There's a window for prime. Prime doesn't mean he's as great as he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
It means he's as close to the pinnacle.
You sound
as
insane
he
right
Greg,
still
he's
is.
not.
You sound
Coach
insane.
Prime,
Greg,
yeah.
he's not.
Okay.
Greg.
I'm seeing he also has a player option for next year for the 2024-2025 season.
Well, hold on a second. If Bronny doesn't get drafted, can he just go back to college?
I saw something about that where he has eligibility left in college, but he's also in the draft. It's weird.
He wasn't very good in college either. I don't know, Greg, why you wouldn't walk back the take that the oldest player in the league is not in his prime. I
Right.
don't know why you're just being stubborn about this. I will say on one of the things that's happening here that makes it so that what Greg is saying about LeBron's entire body of work and saying that playing this well at this age as the oldest player in the league might be the best thing on the entire resume. If Tom Brady didn't exist, we'd be more awed by this. If Tom Brady hadn't done it first and older at a totally different position where the rules are meant to protect him. The most surprising thing to me about LeBron at this age is that he could still play the most rugged and physical of games, that he could still bully Aaron Gordon at 40 and yell at him on the court, I'm in the weight. You're not the only one who's in the weight room.
I guess the reason why talking about it isn't the most entertaining thing it's because like we have no real option or way to talk about this other than to marvel. And maybe if a generation comes and goes where someone doesn't do this, then maybe we can talk about it a little bit better. But as it's happening, how do you explain what Tom Brady and LeBron James are doing other than saying you can't? But I think it's fair to question. And we saw the New England Patriots decide, all right, we're done playing this game. Tom, we don't doubt that you have good football left, but at some point we got to put the franchise first. Now for them, wrong call. Yeah. Tom Brady's an alien. But with LeBron James in a sport that is way more reliant on physical athleticism, like if he loses a half a step in that sport, it's far more perceptible than if Tom Brady loses a half a step playing quarterback. This is a legitimate conversation to be had about Bronny James and how a dude who doesn't have the player option that Stugotz claimed he has in next year, how he's having this much influence over the proceedings, how he's purposefully playing coy, won't give answers as to like, are you done playing for the LA Lakers? What does that mean? You're under contract, bud.
Mike, the under contract part, he broke all of that over his knee in 2010. Like, that's one of the many things that he changed and pioneered on.
No doubt, Dan, but he was up. Like, he was a free agent.
Understood, but since then, all he has done inside of the last 5 years, including create an entire agent economy around something he ostensibly doesn't own. The agent business that he doesn't own, wouldn't be allowed to own. A player cannot be the agent for a bunch of other players in the league. This person has changed the way the rules work and the finances work in this sport for the last 15 years.
Reading the internet wrong, June 29th, he has a deadline to opt into this player option. So I will pay a big hefty fine there.
What do you love, Billy?
Just all of this.
That Mike is wrong?
No. I love that LeBron can do whatever he wants.
He can. That is correct.
I also like that all of a sudden, Mike, we're following that, well, the players are under contract, so they must behave, and they can't just force their ways to whatever team they want.
No, but it's just, I've never seen a player, no, you're right to call that out. I've just never seen, the presumed leverage play that he's doing here is to get his son into the NBA so he can play alongside of him, but his son would seemingly be a charity case. Just going off of draft. I know what's going to happen, and maybe even Juju clips that. But there is just no precedent for a 6'1" guy who we were told is 6'4", who averaged only 5 points a game in college, who enters the league with a very publicly well-known health issue. There's no precedent for this. Well, this was more of a conversation I thought last year when we were fantasy booking this, but he actually went through the combine process. He went through a full season in college. I know it was hampered by what he dealt with a heart ailment, but this is a truly bizarre one.
I mean, he was medically cleared.
Yeah,
he was.
He missed several months of his college career because of this, and he's been medically cleared from it. So I think, in fairness, he's got a clean sheet health-wise. And
he didn't look good afterwards. Like,
no, you're right, he didn't.
And it doesn't happen all the time where a player flatlines, comes back. That's also a miracle. I do think that you give that player like a runway to try to figure it out. But I mean, we were being told by people in the know that there was a lot of hype associated with Bronny James that wasn't necessarily fair 2 years ago.
Mike Piazza was a charity case, and he went to the Hall of Fame.
But he was drafted in like the 64th round
as a favor.
Something.
Yeah, charity case.
Yes, okay. But drafted in the 64th round.
And it's a different sport.
Not the first round.
Tom Brady drafted pretty low.
There you go.
What I don't like is I'm setting myself up to be like the face of like, well, this isn't right. Yeah. But it's also like, I think it's crazy that no one else is talking about it.
But you say it's not. You say it's not right. His value, LeBron's value, is whatever someone is willing, whatever one team is willing to make it, and there's no questioning that he still has an enormous value. I want to switch gears here real quick and put up on the screen a photograph of Tyson Fury's father from an incident in Saudi Arabia over the last couple of days. Now, you have to understand this family's history. It is a family of bare-knuckle boxers. This man has passed down to the heavyweight champion is we fight in the street with our knuckles for money. And the reason his head is bleeding that way is because he appears to have headbutted a toddler that was in the other camp and bloodied his own head in headbutting him. And I just wanted to ask you guys, Do you guys know anybody? Do you have anyone in your circle that you believe in a fight would use the headbutt? Because this tells you so much about a person. I don't want to be reckless here. Stugotz, of course, leaves for more than 2 minutes because he likes the time off.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
You're good.
I want to ask the group, how many times has Tyson Fury's dad been in prison?
There's an answer to this.
I don't know. I need you to look it up. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm recklessly speculating
all
based on how he handled that situation.
Like a say overnight in a holding cell type of thing,
If
or
I-
like he
prison.
went through a
If I set the over under at 2, would you go over or under?
Years?
Going
Prison or
I'm going
jail?
over. Push feels right. Push feels right.
I'm going over. We'll look it up. Let's look it up. So, Stugotz, you were saying before you were kicked out of here?
I was saying he doesn't have to play for free. But, Dan, at this stage in his career, if LeBron is interested in chasing ghosts and trying to catch Michael Jordan and getting 6 NBA titles, the way you would do it is attach yourself to the team that is most desperate, the team that needs him the most, the team that is the closest but doesn't win this year. You attach yourself to that team and you say, hey, I'll play for the league minimum. Therefore, you can keep all these other pieces around me, and let's try to win 2 championships. That's all I'm saying. It's something to think about.
It's not, because LeBron has already said 10 years ago, I'm never again playing for anything less than the max.
That was before Bronny. If he could now
Right.
get Bronny to join him in Cleveland, he plays for the minimum, builds a super team around him, gets Bronny 2 rings in the process. Now you're talking about hanging Bronny's jersey up in the rafters.
Yep.
2-time champion?
I mean,
How many Cleveland Cavaliers are 2-time champions?
I mean, one of the teams
Zero.
that fit the bill
Boom.
would be the Miami Heat potentially, but they didn't want LeBron doing things in the prime of his career. They wouldn't give him certain privileges. Would they use a draft pick on his son?
I'll tell you what, if I'm LeBron, I would make the tour. Tonight, I sit front row at the Mecca. That's what I do. Yeah.
I will tell you guys this story. I don't think it's public. So you guys take this under advisement, because I really don't know how many different things Dan Gilbert did for LeBron. But when LeBron and his group got to Miami, they had to be told, no, you cannot start with more than 1,000 season tickets. We're not doing it that way. We can't do it that way. But there were a lot of asks. There were
That's insane.
A great many
1,000 season tickets?
With Game Time, you don't need any season tickets.
Promo code DAN. Flash deals. They should have signed up using your name, Dan.
I am going. I have to stop here, because that is something that was spoken about in those circles, but I did not verify that as the number. So 1,000 might have been something. The 1,000 might not have been 1,000. They just asked for a bunch of season tickets and were told they could not have that many season tickets. Don't hold me. Don't
You're
hold
good,
me.
man. Don't worry about it.
It's like saying 1 million. Like, yeah, could I have 1 million tickets? I'm going to ask for 1 million tickets like this. It's just a large number. You don't know.
We get it.
I would love to know what it is that the Cavs might offer him in order to get him back, because he can make a lot of different asks.
Was JB Bickerstaff coaching for his job last night?
Mm-hmm. Do you think? Were those players auditioning for LeBron James?
Charlotte Wilder is here. You can hear her basketball expertise with Amin El-Hassan on Oddball every day, except for Monday. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining us. Before you came on with us, they were criticizing both Jason Tatum and how sluggish the Celtics looked. I would say to them, road playoff games are hard to win, and the Celtics seem to do it pretty easily again and again. But you have to be very enthused about what is the easiest run to the Eastern Conference finals and the easiest run to the finals that we've ever seen.
I mean, first of all, hey guys, long time listener.
First time, long time.
Well done.
WFAT.
Well done. Well, very efficient,
Yes.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much. Yeah, look, okay, the Celtics. Here's my thing. I don't know if I'm broken inside or if I still have some trauma unresolved from last year when they totally screwed everything up, but I'm not getting a lot of joy from this. I think part of it, like, it's either a blowout win or a blowout loss. What I liked about last night was that the Cavs went up. The Celtics were like, oh, I guess we should do something. They were rebounding. They were playing defense. They didn't just give up and be like, oh, well, we'll get them next time and then blow them out of the water the next time. It was actually like there was a little tension there. That was good. They did it. But also, like, they're supposed to do it. So it's sort of like, what am I like? I'm having a total come apart because I'm like, it's not that much fun, but I'm such a loser if I'm like, oh, they're winning, but not the way I want them to, and it's not fun. But also, like, the vibes are off. Something's weird. I don't know. Help somebody help me. Help me.
Playoff series are not fun when you're a huge favorite. I think
fair
that's
point.
what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
I disagree. That's ridiculous.
Because anytime anything goes wrong, it's like, this shouldn't be happening. You're the huge favorite.
But wait a minute.
And then if you win big, it's like, you should have done this.
Right.
No, but I want to be a huge favorite. There's nothing better than knowing your team's great.
Yeah, but the only way you win is by winning. Anything short of that
correct.
is right.
But that's what the standard should be.
I know, but it's kind of boring. I mean, they're expected to win, and they're doing so in boring fashion.
I would disagree on a couple of fronts. One of them is this where the standard is? The Celtics have now lost twice in the postseason. Has anyone lost less than that? Has anyone in the postseason lost less than that? I'll give you hockey, too. Has anyone lost less than,
the Rangers just
two
tied
times?
The Rangers just had their second loss.
I'm hearing the statistics are in, and the statistics bureau in my head have no idea, Dan. I have absolutely no idea.
Charlotte, you're a professional speaker. What is happening with your speech this morning?
The Celtics are happening to my speech because I'm having a lot of trouble. Thank you, Stu. I'm having a lot of trouble articulating what is going on here because, like, in Jason Tatum's post-game press conference, he was like, well, we knew Mitchell was out, which when your star's out, it means that the other players are going to play really good. They're going to have a lot more freedom. And I'm like, no, when their star is out, it means that they're going to be less good because they don't have Donovan Mitchell. And then Tatum was saying, like, oh, we're not a super team. Own it. Be like, yeah, we're really good. We're really good, and it's super fun. I mean, I feel like the people who are having fun most this season, like Porzingis was having a blast. Because if you go from having a career year with the Wizards and then suddenly you're in Boston and Boston's happy to have you, that's awesome. Drew Holiday was like, oh man, I avoided that mess over there in Milwaukee, but now I'm here. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are like, we have been ruined by Boston media, by Boston fans, by the expectations. And so they're just sort of slogging through because that's what they have to do, because I think Boston sort of breaks you in some way anyway. Because we're New Englanders, and that's how it goes, Stan. That's how it goes.
You break people.
Are you broken? Are you broken by what it is the Panthers have done to your Bruins, or do you not really care that way over there? Basketball's your thing, and it doesn't hurt the same way in hockey.
I mean, Yeah, it doesn't really hurt the same. I'm watching so much basketball, Dan. Like I have dreams that I'm like in a clutch situation. I like the basketball. I'm like on the bench. I'm like in the locker room. I'm not really. I'm mostly just watching it, but it's really all consuming. And I only have so much sports pain or energy that I can expend right now.
Please tell me these dreams are real and you weren't making that up. And I want to hear what the result is of you in the clutch in your dreams.
I was not expecting to be called out in that moment because I feel like I had a dream about it last night, but I couldn't quite tell you. So I was going to just sort of I can make one up. I can make one up if you want.
Go ahead.
It would have been better if you had just done it without telling us you were making it up. That's one of the keys.
Can I try again? Can I try again?
No. No.
The Panthers, Rangers, Thunder, T-Wolves among the teams that have lost twice.
Yep. Charlotte, you're doing that thing that Bill Simmons does all the time, the misery, the losing, all that stuff. No one has had a better 2-decade run. No city in the history of American sports has had a better 2-decade run than Boston. Enough. Please, stop it.
Okay, first of all, I am not doing the thing Bill Simmons does. I did not say that the WNBA players, that team should be called W whatever. I'm not doing too much misery. I'm doing confusion. I'm doing why isn't this more fun? I'm doing something's broken in me if I'm not, loving this. I am loving this, but also like, I don't know, Stu, look at your Knicks. Your Knicks are they're gritty, they're tough. It's like adversity. If they don't make it, that's okay because their pets' heads are falling off. And the Celtics, it's like most people are healthy and they're playing well, and that's fun. So, but it's not, and I don't know why.
I think to Charlotte's point, being a fan of the favored team is a lot of pressure. And it makes you overreact to everything negative. When the Panthers lost Game 1 to the Bruins, there was panic down here.
No, there wasn't.
Yes,
Roy
there
wasn't
was.
scared.
No,
It's the most confident I've ever seen Roy. I got to be
I
honest.
thought we were winning in 5.
Okay, did you look at Reddit?
No.
Yeah, I get Reddit.
Yeah.
I get
subscribe.
He gets it mailed to his house.
It's an app, right? I don't know. No, but
Pete.
believe me, the reaction was such that there's not moderation. You got to learn to moderate. It doesn't come naturally.
Here's the thing, Dan. Can I give an analogy, please?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So when I talk on this show, a lot of times, sometimes I fumble over what I'm saying. You could say that I'm a mastermind because the bar is so low that when I make a coherent point and make my way through it, everyone's like, "Oh God, she did it." If I were just had bars left and right all the time, like the pressure would be too much. The Celtics, they're good at talking in a basketball way.
I really don't understand what you're doing in general. I don't know a lot of fans who would prefer to go into a series as the underdog instead of the favorite. You want to have the best team because you want to have the best chance of winning. It doesn't make any sense to me that expectations would spook you.
But with Michael Jordan, the Bulls knew they were going to win. This is different, Dan. This is a team that, yes, they're favored to win, but as a fan, you're not certain they're quite good enough to win.
Yes. Thank you, Stu. This is a team that has over the past years, 6 years, I don't know, what's 2018?
Are you doing a bit? What is happening right now?
She cannot speak. She's just...
This is what this team has done to me. This is what this team has done to me. Listen, they have gotten so close so many times, and then they lose. So I'm like, I don't know, even though it looks like they should, and then they probably will, and then it'll be great.
I get it.
I think you're right. And the example I would use is that Jason Tatum is famous for nothing more than not winning. So, therefore, based on the recent past, you don't expect him to win.
I don't think either of those. I don't think
my dad has had some doozies today.
I don't think either of those things are true. I don't know. I know it feels like
this is all making sense.
Where's Ashton?
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
Yes,
I'm trying. You know what I'm trying to do?
That's not the ally you want, Charlotte. You don't want him as an ally. He roots against the show.
The faces she's making, something's up.
He's winning right now.
Okay, guys, I am trying to be honest. I am trying to give you honesty in a way that. Would it be smarter to be like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm a cocky Boston fan. I love it. We're going to win. You guys all suck. Maybe, but I'm trying to be honest about what's in my heart and work through this because I thought, forgive me. I thought this was a safe space for feelings.
Mm-hmm.
They
kidding,
are.
I didn't.
They are for
I didn't think
well-spoken feelings. This is not a safe space
Dan,
for misspeaking.
you
This
know-
is not
Oh, come
that.
on.
You know what I
Are you
always say,
kidding me?
Dan. Honesty is the best policy.
Thank you, Stugotz. LeBron
Thank you,
James
Stu.
getting a bottle of wine into the arena last night, placing it under his seat. I don't think there are a lot of human beings who would be allowed to do that.
This I can actually speak very coherently on if you would like some insight.
I would.
Okay, first of all, the coffee cup with the lid, brilliant. If anyone's ever brought wine into a theater, first of all, if you're LeBron, you can bring the bottle in. If you're trying to do it as a lay person, you have to bring it in a Nalgene or some sort of water bottle that is opaque so you can't see into it. Also, very funny to me that LeBron James shows up and he's like, sitting off to the side as if to say, "Oh, no, like don't look at me. I'm simply off to the side," but he's still courtside. And what is he doing? Like does he miss playoff attention? Because I feel like bringing a bottle of wine and a coffee cup into a stadium is a really good way to have people be like, that man's going through something.
Do you think he brought the bottle of wine in and asked what the corkage fee was? I think he bought this there.
No,
you can't buy a bottle
absolutely
of
not.
wine in an arena, can you?
You can't bring a bottle of wine into an
You
arena.
can if you're LeBron, I would assume.
Well, then I would assume
That's
that
like
you
a
can buy one if you're
$500 bottle of wine, I think.
Maybe
That's LeBron's not drinking like,
You don't think he ordered a bottle of
$50
Josh?
cab.
I think he has a wine locker there.
Maybe he snuck it in.
Is he a cab man or a Pinot Noir? What do we got him for?
What year is your Josh?
Pinot Noir?
The
Yeah,
Cleveland
Pinot Noir.
Caberniers.
Oh, God.
I liked it.
That's good.
I
Pretty good.
tried.
Damn,
No, it's
why
good.
didn't
You
I
say.
think of that?
You say.
Bad
You don't
allies.
apologize.
Just bad
I don't
allies.
apologize.
Greg Cody has, he likes them the worse the better. It's the Jeremy Taché memorial joke. Give us last thoughts, please, before you get out on the WNBA season opening tonight. What is it that you're excited about? It's not going to be Caitlin Clark all the time, is it?
No, it's going to be Camila Cardozo. Although I think she might be a little hurt.
She's hurt, yeah.
Yeah, but she'll be
Nice
better.
guy.
She'll be better eventually. It's so hard to go from college right into the WNBA. I mean, it's Angel Reese. There is so much to be excited for. It's Nika Mule in Seattle, picking up the Sue Bird mantle. Like, there's so much to look forward to. And also, in terms of Caitlin Clark, I'm very excited to watch everybody who's already in the NBA be like, "Oh, you thought?" and just give her a very hard time. So I think the whole thing is so exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens, guys.
Way to nail the dismount there at the end, Charlotte. Just a total disaster of an appearance.
She just named like 3 players that I would have
and then
named.
she stumbled over the finish
Like,
line.
I don't.
Like,
This was a
oddball.
bit.
You want my Celtics pain, and then you want something coherent in the last 30 seconds. Okay, it's my fault, Dan. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oddball every day but
Random
Monday.
drug testing.
You will
Stat.
get coherent thoughts there, unlike on our show. Thank you, Charlotte Wilder.
Thanks, guys.
Me maximum. Me maximum. Me maximum. Yeah. Greg is king and you're his peasants. Me maximum. Yeah. My way is the only way. Yeah. If we share a hotel room, you know who you answer to. Me maximum. You. My comfort is of most importance. Me maximum. You. Say it again so they can hear it in the back. Yeah. When you are the patriarch, no one else's feelings matter. Vacation, me maximum. Restaurant, me maximum. Article, me maximum. Big Cody Show, me maximum. PSBI, me maximum. Back in my day, me maximum. Hee-haw 3, me maximum. It's hee-haw me. Blake, yeah. Soup of the day, that kind of thing, and you know it, pride of a lion, boat shoe, Miller Lite, in my garage, all night, falling down, getting hurt, that kind of thing, yeah!
The criticism from yesterday is unrelenting. I could say that every day. And one of the comments is Dan is acting like he has never seen a damn half-court shot in an NBA game before today. SMH. I want to hear from the audience all the shots that you believe have a greater degree of difficulty in the history of the sport than Jamal Murray beating the shot clock and avoiding a defender and not going out of bounds and making it the 8th point in 20 seconds, 6th, 7th, and 8th point in 20 seconds at the end of a half.
I gave you 5 Jordan shots alone yesterday.
Yeah, there are none is the answer. There are
I mentioned
none.
a game of horse I played.
Yep.
Yes, you did, because again, you are someone who roots against the show. You actively you actively put it on the poll. Does Billy actively try to destroy the show every day? I want to ask Chris and Mike and Roy the following question. If I had told you 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, when you guys were so loud complaining about Barkov and Bobrovsky, that Bobrovsky was a bad contract, a terrible contract that could not be moved. If I had told you then, hey, Barkov would be at the center of everything that's happening with one of the most championship-worthy teams in the history of South Florida sports, and also on ESPN.com, the headline is going to be Exploring the Legend of Playoff Bob. What would you guys have said to me? Because it was so loud around here about what disappointments both those guys were. And if I asked you who's more of a disappointment, I don't know who you would have voted for, because that Bobrovsky contract seemed like an anchor that was going to ruin the franchise.
Well, Alexander Barkov, I thought he was going to end up turning it around, especially defensively. But now he's found his offensive game. Now he's better. Sergei Bobrovsky, he would have played up to his contract eventually. Not Ekblad, however.
Roy, what do you mean he would have played up to his contract eventually? There was no hope, but you guys were telling me.
We were calling for Spencer Knight, bud.
You guys were telling me.
We were calling for Alex Lyon last year because Alex Lyon had the run that got them into the postseason. Bobrovsky's had an incredible turnaround, and now he's finally started playing up to that contract. But to have the foresight of that even last year at the start of the playoffs, or even last year down 3-1 against the Boston Bruins, I think that's kind of facetious. We all had our doubts about Bob. I'm still kind of low-key a little scared. It's just what's happening in front of him is so damn good right now that you're not asking him to be all-world, and occasionally he'll be all-world for you. So he's been great. Dan, I understand, especially with Barkov, when you talk about these players, you always circle back to what it was like 2 years ago when they won the President's Trophy, and they both kind of laid an egg in the postseason. Lots happened since then. A lot. Barkey was always the more likely to bust out of it because, look, this year, Stolarz had the better goals against average and save percentage on this team even this year. But Barkov is a tremendous player, and the reason why we were complaining so loudly 2 years ago is because we've always known he had this in him.
Bobrovsky got that money, at least in part, because everybody here believed he was worth that money.
Because it was what was plaguing them after Luongo, is they had some teams that could actually threaten, and you had a two-time Vezina winner available on the open market, a guy that had actually just swept a record then at the time, record-setting Tampa Bay Lightning team. Bobrovsky came in. All this guy has to do is do exactly what he did in Columbus, and you're talking about a Stanley Cup potential type team. And to his credit, he did kind of legitimize them immediately despite not playing up to an expected level. That says more about the career he's had than his own talent.
Well, I had faith in him last season during the regular season, but Alex Lyon did lead us to the playoffs then, and then now we got Sergei Bobrovsky, what we have now. But this playoff season, he hasn't really played up to his standards. It's the Panthers' defense in front of him that's really built him out a lot.
And you mentioned
not allowing shots.
And you mentioned Ekblad. Look, we're speaking into microphones, and we're going to swing with the results of the games, and 2 years ago with the results of the series. But we were all very hard on Aaron Ekblad after Game 1. He had arguably his worst game as a Florida Panther. A terrible time to have it. Since then, he's been terrific. He's been everything that Paul Maurice assured us he would be after he calmed everybody down with the press conference, which I don't know if you're watching, and I'm a super fan. The way that Paul Maurice is handling these press conferences lately is basically appointment television.
He's had the biggest glow up, I think, on this roster. I mean, obviously Reinhardt's having a career year, but man, that's the person we flipped on the most probably.
If you want to hold us accountable for our Panthers takes over the last 2 years, Zaslow openly calling Paul Maurice the murderer of fun.
Yeah.
I had to announce that I had deleted my Paul Maurice tweets because it looked like they had a team that went from President's Trophy good to a team that was going to miss the playoffs, and thankfully Alex Lyon got hot, and they had a little bit of luck, and they got into the playoffs, and then they started playing the type of hockey that Paul Maurice was trying desperately an entire season, almost to their detriment, to try to get them to play. So by the time the playoffs rolled around last year, they hit the ground running.
There was criticism of the Maurice hire, as I recall it. To hire Maurice, they didn't re-sign the guy who had just won the Coach of the Year award.
Andrew Brunett.
Yeah, and Paul Maurice is number one in all-time losses of any NHL coach. So, you don't rehire the Coach of the Year to hire the biggest loser, quote-unquote, of all time. Yeah, there was some initial doubt about the hiring of Paul Maurice.
In Zito we trust.
Man, has he proved himself.
But if we're taking inventory of all our bad hockey takes, let me apologize to the Vancouver Canucks and Rick Tocchet. I was not familiar with your game. Did not think you could totally change your identity and have your superstars start eating pucks. Credit to you. But also, Dan, you got to walk one back too, brother. Yeah. You said you didn't see a talent disparity between these two teams. You got Morgan Geekie out there on the first line.
What I said was what in the results shows you a talent disparity over the last 2 years.
What results? It, 4 games, 3 of which went to overtime. This is not the Boston. The first intermission of Game 2, Paul Maurice essentially told his guys, "These guys don't have anything. We're giving them all their quality chances. Just be disciplined with the puck." Because they're going to play anti-hockey and hope against hope that you're going to give them their quality chances because they have zero creativity there. They got Pastrnak, who we all respect, but they got no one else creating for that team. There is not a lot of talent on that team. It's a miracle they have the regular season that they did, and they're showing you exactly who they are. This Montgomery has no moves.
Lundell would be a top liner for them.
The difference is depth. Florida's fourth line has been their best line at times. The fourth line has been terrific.
They're so deep. Oposo's been like a first liner in this league.
Lomberg can't get on the ice right now. He was sick the first series. He's healthy now and just can't get on the ice.
Right. Nick Cousins, they benched when
he's
Bennett
always
came
been
back.
meh.
Let me ask you guys a couple of questions here about the playoffs in general because Connor McDavid has sort of disappeared since Game 1. But I wanted to talk about the Valeri Nichushkin story, Stugotz, because I don't know how many 100-point teams were there in the league this year.
This year was higher than normal.
9 or 10. 9 or 10. Lot. There are 9 or 10 100-point teams in the NHL, great teams, and I think any 100-point team, if I get it into the playoffs, that's a team that has a chance to win the championship. You're talking about a third of the league, I think, roughly.
10 teams had it.
Okay, so it's 10 teams, and Nichushkin is the most important player on Colorado?
He led the playoffs in goals.
Well, I'm not sure because
McKinnon and McCarr are more important than Nichushkin, but Nichushkin had things gone the way that things were looking, they were going for Val Nichushkin and the Colorado Avalanche. He might have been the Conn Smythe winner. He led the team in goals. He was incredible, two-way incredible player. But now the second straight playoffs for the Colorado Avalanche. This is a former champion that Nichushkin has not been available to them. He had a questionable incident that happened in a Seattle hotel room with a woman that was found there that was in really rough shape, and all of a sudden he doesn't play for the remainder of that Seattle series, a series that they end up getting upset in. Fast forward another postseason, great. Nichushkin, he's a demon on the ice. He's incredible. Two-way player, scoring goals left and right. He's essentially become our number one winger next to Nathan McKinnon. He's been marvelous. And then you hear right before puck drop that he has failed the drug test and won't be available for 6 months.
At least.
He can apply for reinstatement 6 months from now. His nameplate was removed from the locker room. His teammates, if you go by Jack Johnson's quotes, are done with him. This is the second straight postseason where his behavior off the ice has let them down.
And he was in the player assistance program back in January, so this drug test pretty much is bad for him. This is bad.
It was bad for Mike as well because I took the Stars last night after Mike texted me about this news, and Mike was broken because he had a bunch of futures on the Lanch.
I was already locked in on props. I mean, the team's toast now. The team is
done. Yes.
toast without Nichushkin.
Let me talk about something here, though, because this is a super rare suspension. It's not just the timing, it's the amount of time. This suggests a serious problem, and teammates being done with him, I understand, but whenever a suspension of something like this lands, I remember Chris Birdman Anderson was suspended for a long time, where it's not just marijuana. There's something else here when the suspensions go this long and the behavior is so out of control. Keep in mind, hockey players are notorious for partying. Like, the lifestyle runs hard. Like, there's a lot of pain in that sport, and there's a lot of self-medicating in that sport. So for you to be out of control by the standards of hockey immediately makes me say, oh, that man does not have control of his life. And his teammates landing on him with, we're done with that, while totally understandable, isn't what an addict needs.
Oh, very, very clearly what he needs is treatment, and he's going to get that because the league legislates that, Dan. But if you're a Colorado Avalanche player, this guy was making up for doing this to you last year with his performance on the ice. And for him to do it again, I can totally understand. Families have addicts in their family dynamics, and people get cut off, and it's very personal. These guys are making sacrifices. They're taking 200-mile-per-hour pucks off their shin bones. And for Val Nichushkin to decide now's the time to party when he did this to us last year, I can understand why there's resentment there.
I know, but
he can't control when he parties.
That is correct. Like, that's the illness. He doesn't want to be disappointed.
Very clearly, there was also other people that can.
Understood. But this addiction would appear to be worse than most because you don't see this very often. Never mind in the postseason, you don't see this length of suspension in sports very often where it's like, well, maybe he can come back in at least 6 months, but get out of here. And whenever someone's that out of control, I understand why all of the anger would surround him, but I also understand why it would birth general misunderstanding of addiction. Like when the family member comes into the house and steals from their parents' jewelry box to take stuff that needs to be pawned because the desperation is such that the need for the high is greater than anything sports is giving you, even if you're playing it at that level as well as that guy is playing it. And even if the consequence is you know your teammates are going to be heartbroken, you clearly don't have control over the sickness that grabs you and is a dragon in your life that eats up everything else. You mentioned earlier, Greg Cody, Andrew Brunett, the former coach of the Panthers, coach of the year. And every time someone mentions that name for me, I do a word association with that golf cart DUI that had a certain drunken smugness in it as he talked to the authorities. And I can't forget this, even though I, too, would be really annoyed. I believe I'd be annoyed and arrogant, too, if I was driving around in a golf cart and somebody arrested me for DUI. I wouldn't feel – this happened to Bill Murray one time in England. Stugotz, how deep into your mouth is that sausage finger going to go on television?
It's a piece of bacon. It's just sticking right there, like right in between my two teeth. It's hard to get out. I finally got it out. You want to see it?
Charges were dropped against Andrew Brunett.
Yeah, but let's play the video anyway.
I coached the Florida Panthers.
Sorry?
The Florida Panthers, I was coaching.
Yeah?
Yeah, you don't care.
No.
I know you don't.
No disrespect.
2 years ago was a different time.
It really was.
Now you can get off the case.
If I had been right there next to the golf cart and I had just looked into that camera and said, "Hey, Mike, so Barkov is going to go through 3 defenders to go up 3-1 on Boston, and also the legend of playoff Bob is going to be what greets me."
Bob's nominated for another Vezina.
You would have said I was drinking.
Ekblad's definitely off the team at that point.
Yeah. All the Ekblad takes are right, though.
Andrew Brunett, by the way, has coached the Predators to the playoffs this season, so good on him.
Right, good recovery. Yep.
Thank you, Roy.
Good on him.
Thank you for giving him his flowers.
Thank you, Roy.
He deserves it after you.
No, it was unfair what Dan did, and you were giving him his flowers.
What do you mean?
He squeaked in as an 8 seed.
Charges were dropped and we're replaying
Had
this.
one of the worst hockey series I've ever seen against the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah. Wait, at least he made it.
Why are we defending Andrew Brunett?
What was unfair about a golf cart DUI? Me just playing it.
Charges were dropped.
I know, but listen, that video and that audio was him saying
he was composed.
He was trying to get. Yes, he does. He seems fine. He was trying to get out of it by saying, "I'm the Florida Panthers coach." And do you realize how little value that had in this market 2 years ago?
No disrespect, though.
Now you can get away with anything.
Anything.
Dan, I want to play a game called Closing the Loop.
Good work there, Chris Cody.
Spo gets away with that 2 years ago. Spo gets away with it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gets away with it.
What?
Spo?
Yeah.
Is it a golf cart? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he coaching the Panthers?
Yeah.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Would Eric Spoelstra get away with a golf cart DUI in Miami? Riley certainly would.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I haven't had the ability to laugh at the Boston Bruins' expense, but I have been following the show. I know that Katie's been on a couple of times, and I'm really upset with this show perpetuating this media narrative that's out there, talking about everything other than the Boston Bruins getting their ass kicked, because that's what's happening right now. You have a team that is incapable of playing with the Florida Panthers. So what did they try to do? The only thing that they could, muck it up. Florida Panthers beating them at that game, too. They're better at them across the board, including with the head coach. And the fact that everyone's boiling this down to a rapid punch that, yeah, Sam Bennett, he probably got an extra shot in there. And was it interference? If you ask me, yeah, sure. I actually wish that they called it interference because the Panthers would have just did what they ended up doing, which is score again. The Panthers are so much better than this team. This is not decided by an interference call. This is not decided, of all people to defend, Brad Marchand. Get out of here with that. I mean, no, this is not a close series.
How many times has Marchand been suspended? Because I did delight in seeing Sam Bennett in Boston registering as public enemy number 1. You guys weren't sure he was going to play in this series. They would have missed him.
He's got them going crazy. Dude, a Barstool guy wrote 3,000 words on a rabbit punch as if he's like a pugilist. Like, you think Sam Bennett has enough power in that hand? Actually, I think that Brad Marchand hurt himself trying to hit monster number 2 and Kevin Stenlund. He got up a little woozy after that. And I think Sam Bennett just finished the job when he realized Marchand's coming in here all loopy, missing this hit. I'm going to brace, and I'll get me a piece.
I count 8 suspensions.
Yeah, 8 suspensions, total of 28 games.
Brad Marchand licked a dude on the face once. Like
hockey player.
Yeah, he's the Rat King.
It is crazy that because everyone except Roy kind of agrees the Panthers got away with a call there. Like that was we got lucky there.
Yeah. Roy's an unusual cat because Roy when Mike was talking about what he was talking about, Roy said in my ear, he said, "I already said all of that yesterday," and Roy also said earlier in the show, I knew Bobrovsky was going to be this,
That's
which
crazy.
is just a lie. Like it's
not
a
a lie.
it's a
I'm not lying.
It's a flat. You didn't say it. You did not say it to anyone publicly, privately. That is not an opinion that you expressed anywhere.
Well, I'm a quiet person, so
Yeah, that's right.
I am enjoying
Totally
Roy's
fair, Roy.
Magic Johnson turn on Twitter again during the postseason.
Right. I'm not going to change for anything. So.
Yeah. I know, just copy pasting the press release by also adding Nichushkin out for a while. Helpful.
Is Marchand? We'll close.
Thank you for that, Mike.
We'll
I really appreciate that. Thanks for the support.
Not as much as I thank you for Panthers score.
We close the loop in a second, but Marchand is. They actually call him Rat, right? Like
Yeah, he's Rat. There's a couple Rat Kings in this series. Brad Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk too, who also. They had gripes like, Matthew Tkachuk got an extra shot in on Pasternak on the ice. Not a fighter. He did. But this is what they were looking to do in Game 2. And then the Florida Panthers responded in kind, have also been the more disciplined team. So, yeah, go into the penalty box and cost your team. You guys can't play with them 5v5. So you like your chances 5v4? It's just been dumb. I don't know what to make of Jim Montgomery because you have to look at the talent that they have on the ice. They lost Krejci, they lost Bergeron, and they had a better season than even last year. And they entered this playoff series second round. Granted, they got through a depleted Toronto Maple Leafs team and just a total shit show of a franchise. But they come in here, and you really see they're super overmatched. But then Jim Montgomery's doing every wrong thing he could possibly do to hurt their team's chances. So I don't know whether to give him credit or damn him to hell.
Well, no, he's giving them motivation. That's what he's doing.
You can't trust
the series is over.
You can't trust the guy that always has his hands in his pockets. What's that guy doing? Even when he's mad at the refs, he's always got his hands in his pockets.
Put it on the poll,
Stressing me
Choo-Choo.
out.
Can you trust a guy who's always got his hands in his pocket? Billy, close the loop for
To
me.
close the loop slightly on this, Tyson Fury's dad, John Fury, in 2011 was found guilty and sentenced to 11 years because he left a victim half blind. A 12-year dispute erupted in violence at a car auction in 2010. While Fury was getting the victim in a headlock, he forced his finger into the victim's eyes. He was released from prison in 2015.
Eye gouging?
So only one time?
Well, I mean, he was in prison for a little, but that cuts into his times that he could get arrested.
Car auction's a really weird place for a fight.
Billy, keep looking. I bet you there's more than one. In the spirit of closing that loop, Billy, because I am grateful that my admonishment of you being an active and purposeful irritant who tries to destroy the show, you actually made yourself helpful there, and I was confused by it. I thought your hands were in your pocket and that I would mistrust you because when you're helpful, I think there's an agenda or something that you're up to.
Is this a compliment or an apology or an insult? What is this exactly?
It's neither of those things. It's not an apology or a compliment, but I thank you for bringing back this subject because I don't think that we talked enough about the people in your life that you believe would problem solve with a headbutt. because the headbutt, I have never thought, right? I would try to protect my head in a fight. I would not be aggressive with my head in a fight. I know a few people who would handle stuff this way. There is one person, I've told you the story, you're always making fun of me when I quote sources from the MMA community, but I know some people down here in South Florida, which has a very active MMA community, a lot of MMA business down here, that a friend of mine was one time driving behind somebody who was on a bicycle and on the back wheel and purposely weaving through traffic and ignoring that my friend was honking and trying to get around him. And so eventually they got into a shouting match, and my friend got out of the car, went up to the cyclist who approached him, headbutted him, and left him in the street. Solved it with a headbutt. But I don't know many people. I wouldn't mess with any of them. I don't know many people who solve things with a headbutt, and I'm asking you guys, what do you make of someone who does? Because that is a person that I would not want to mess with.
Once you're willing to go with the headbutt, there is no line you're not willing to cross.
Right.
Like, that person is crazy.
Yeah, to me, headbutting and eye gouging almost seem to go together in some odd way. You know, I would find it difficult to be a soccer player and just head the ball. I mean, because it's like, wow, that must give you a headache.
Right.
How do you do that? But
What?
to actually head
Craig,
somebody else's
it often
skull.
does.
Yeah.
I'm
see?
with them. I try to avoid a header.
No,
yeah.
Mike knows.
Yeah.
Now, I am familiar with the woodpecker community, okay? Woodpeckers use their beak to peck wood, which in and of itself has to hurt. You know, so the human equivalent of the woodpecker is the headbutter.
Yeah.
You know, so there is some precedent there.
Yeah.
What? I've made my point. Now I'll move on.
It was a good one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Woodpecker that pecks wood.
Yeah. They use their beak to peck wood.
Right.
They don't have arms. You know, if I had a hammer, they don't have a hammer. They use their beak. Mm-hmm. And the headbutt is similar.
Right.
The motion is similar.
Correct.
You know?
Right.
So, you know, take my point and run with it. Bring it to the bank. Invest it. Go into a bank, go up to a teller, and say, I want to invest the idea that a woodpecker and a headbutter is a similar.
People just walk in, give me takes all day.
First of all, you saying the phrase, I'm familiar with the woodpecker community, is useless.
I am.
I don't believe the woodpecker suffers any pain from. We'll ask Ron McGill. He's going to be on with us. I don't think there's any pain involved for the woodpecker there.
We have breaking news. No Ron McGill. Hyena surgery. Yeah. I misread it first and thought it was hernia.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah.
Get Woody on the phone.
He's familiar with the woodpecker community. It'd be helpful.
Is there another woodpecker?
I can't think of one.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show.
Famous. That's what.
Is the logic like if I headbutt you, I'm already sacrificing the thing that you would punch. In fact, I'm using this punchable thing as the weapon. So there is nothing that you can do to actually hurt
To me, it's like a nose butt or a mouth butt.
Well, there's an art to it too. Like you don't lead in with nose. That's not what you do.
I'm just saying that using the thing that you would be trying to protect from getting hit to start the fight, that it's no one's got. There can't be a fight where anyone's expecting a headbutt. It's got to be
in that part of the country and that part of the world. I would expect it more.
Saudi Arabia.
Well, was that in Saudi? Well, I was going to say with Europeans.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah,
The Jokic's.
Europeans.
Good point.
Europeans
The Jokic
are more
brothers definitely would
Slavs.
Yeah.
They're more likely to headbutt. This is a sweeping generalization that might be xenophobic, but I feel confident in saying this. Europeans headbutt more.
They do, especially Eastern European.
Put it on the poll. Do Eastern Europeans headbutt more? Just leave it like that.
Especially when you consider his family ties. More marauders.
Also, gypsies.
Well, he is a gypsy king, but I've found that is a disparaging word, and you can only use it in context of like Tyson Fury calls himself this.
That's correct.
Would you rather come face to face with a biter or a headbutter?
Wow.
Put that on the poll as well. Would you prefer to come face to face with a biter or a headbutter? And also put on the poll at Le Batard Show: do woodpeckers hurt their beaks or heads when they woodpeck, because I don't believe that they do. Otherwise, I'm guessing they would stop doing it.
No, that's why there's that concussion stuff. Yeah, like I think that necklace that you see a couple football players wearing around their neck is like the tech is based on woodpeckers.
Mm-hmm. Well, the internet is telling me a woodpecker's brain takes a big hit with every peck against a tree, yet the animal doesn't get brain damage. A team of scientists says the reason is the brain's very small size.
No CTE for that one, huh?
How about that?
Bird brain.
They don't have a hammer, though. They have no choice.
That's right. That is what Greg Cody
do what
said.
You got to
do. Do you guys know what he was doing there? Because Greg Cody has a stream of thoughts. He thinks all his thoughts are interesting, and anytime there's one in there, he just says it, even if it's useless. Do you guys know what he was doing there? Because he was doing the song from, I guess, the 1960s, If I Had a Hammer.
Mm-hmm. If I had a hammer. Yeah.
Sing it, Greg.
Trini Lopez, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Back that ass up.
Yeah. How about yeah. It's a folk song. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. I'd hammer in the evening. All over this land. I'd sing about justice. I'd sing about freedom. I may have mixed that up. It might be freedom and then justice. But it starts off, if I had a hammer, and then it turns into like a folk song.
Woodpeckers prevent brain damage in a fascinating way. Their tongues wrap around their jugular veins to increase blood flow to the brain. That's what those necklaces do. They increase blood flow.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating.
The woodpecker's biology functions much like bubble wrap to protect and insulate the brain from damage.
Trini Lopez is also not Trina, who also is not Juvenile, who sings Back That Ass Up.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of confusion.
What year was that song? And again, why did you insert that in the middle of what it is you were talking about, as if anyone should understand it?
It was 1962.
There you go. Good year.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Cody, 7 going on 8. Prime of my life.
You've made LeBron 40, prime of his life, and you're 7.
Everyone
or
has a
8
different prime.
Different primes, yeah.
That was the beginning of my prime when I was 7.
Early bloomer.
You're still in it.
Thank you.
Perhaps Billy and Stugotz can explain something to me, because I'm at a bit of a loss. I don't understand the general enthusiasm around the NFL schedule coming out. It's a real baffling to me how interested people are in this. And I've also got a place where I believe that Billy and Stugotz might be most at odds on football analysis, because Stugotz says Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in football. I think he made him better than Patrick Mahomes. And,
well, I made Alex Smith better than Patrick Mahomes. So.
But I think you have said that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in football, and I don't think Billy not only doesn't agree with you. I think Billy thinks that
he's got to prove something to me this year. I'll say it.
Say it.
Yeah, I said it. He's got to prove something this year. Stay healthy.
Yep.
Take him over the hump.
How about the schedule, though? Because
I don't know what Dan's talking about when he says he doesn't get excited. I feel bad for you, honestly.
Right.
Smile. Enjoy it. Yeah.
Dan, the Chiefs, opening 2 weeks, Ravens and Bengals. I mean, if Burrow wants to prove something to Billy, he could do it early by beating Patrick Mahomes.
Opening night.
Yeah.
Well, no. Week 2.
That does get me excited. Just knowing exactly I can build myself up to this one Monday night.
Play, win, loss.
Now, I have a Monday night game to open the season. It's Jets at Niners. I hate a Monday night to open the season. I have to wait around all weekend.
Week 1, you don't want
Monday.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. You don't want it. But the good news in that is that Aaron Rodgers will be playing on grass.
Exactly right, on the road. So he'll probably get a game in.
But how about the news that we're getting a Friday in Rio to open up the season after opening night?
We have games. NBC just picked up a game, according to Adam Schefter, I believe, that is going against the college football playoffs.
Wow.
Now, it's an expanded playoff this year, so it's the first week. Why?
I don't like that.
It's the NFL flexing.
I don't like that.
The NFL does whatever it wants. I do think schedule day is more interesting than it used to be in the NFL because of international games. Now there are like 3 or 4 a year, and because of 3 Christmas games this year. That'll be interesting to see how those shake out.
This is exciting, Dan. This is a big day. I mean, and today's not even schedule release is tomorrow.
Just
this
leaking out right
leak
now.
season.
But
I like
exactly
the leaks.
right.
The reason you
the
like it is because you want to see where your team fits in the hierarchy of the league. How many primetime games do I have? How many do the Jets have? I want to know where I am because that's how the league just puts. They basically just say if you have 10 primetime games, you're a good team.
I'll tell you
if
one
have
story.
You're terrible.
I'll tell you one storyline I was looking for, Chris, and that was where's Tom Brady going to pretend to be calling his first
found out
game?
yesterday.
What's he got?
It's going to be Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
That he doesn't actually show up to play to call because he might actually be playing in the game.
Browns versus who?
Cowboys. You know his first
course,
assignment
come on.
on Fox
You know it's
had to be the
Cowboys. It's
Cowboys.
Fox.
But he's just
Not gonna be
wading into
Cowboys.
the waters with just a classic Deshaun Watson game already, like challenging himself.
How's he going to handle that one?
How does this do nothing for you? I don't understand. I mean, sure, you could argue and say you already knew who you're going to be playing on the home and who you're going to be playing on the road, but now you know when you're going to be playing them home and road because it matters. Because then you know, is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? Do I get them early? Do I get them before they start clicking? Steelers, you want to play early. We talked about this last week on GBF. You get the Steelers, which the Jets do. You want them early in the season before things start clicking in the Steel City because you know that that's bound to happen because Tomlin always gets his team ready, but it always takes a little bit of time to get them there. Here's another one, Dan. This one's for free. Trevor Lawrence needs a big year. Needs a big year.
You have had a stronger opinion than that. Needs a big year.
On Trevor
or
Lawrence?
what?
Oh,
Well,
I think I said before that this may be his last year in the league. Is that what you're referring
that's
to?
stronger than
said
that's
that, yeah.
stronger than needs a big year.
Yeah, it could be his
that's
last year in the league.
Yeah.
What does Joe Burrow exactly have to show you?
Anything, really. I mean, just
He's
been a
won
lot
an
of
AFC.
huff and puff from
He
him.
beat the Chiefs.
He's been the only one.
No.
Him and Tom Brady have been like the only ones to beat them.
In Billy's defense, he is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL this season at $55 million, and Jared Goff is second.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
We are not prepared for the amount of money Jared Goff is going to be making it throughout his career when it's all said and done.
Well, you say it's crazy, but hasn't he already been the highest paid quarterback in the sport once? Didn't Jared Goff already have that
Yeah,
distinction?
but for the Lions to take the next step, you need to not pay Jared Goff $53 million or whatever it is.
He's making more than Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes this season.
He's making more than everybody but Joe Burrow, and that's what happens when the latest quarterback signs. It's why now people think Tua is going to get $50 million because, I mean, Carson Wentz was the highest paid quarterback in football at one point. The guy who comes up that year, that's how that one works. But I want to circle back around to what it is Mike said about Tom Brady. Didn't he say in his first press conference about being an announcer, didn't he throw out there that Dak Prescott has to show him something?
Yeah.
Boy.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Well, so that we got another storyline there. Maybe he's actually going to be gunning for his job there. Although it's a little complicated because he is a part owner in the Raiders, and I think he has to divest. Basically, look, I think he's coming back, and I think he's coming back to the Raiders. I already put my future in for the Raiders to make the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
When do you have him coming back, though? Before the season starts?
One injury. I think he's put it out there, and I'm fascinated with the looming prospect that Tom Brady's actually saying things now. He avoided it entirely last year. He sent that selfie video from the sand, and he stayed quiet, and he enjoyed a year off. But he started putting out the tea leaves and the crumbs out there, signaling to teams like, maybe not at the start of the year. I don't really have much interest in training camp. But if you got an injury, I'm open for business.
But they have depth. They have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. They need 2 injuries.
Let me read you guys the quote here from Tom Brady, because if he's willing to say stuff, which he's never been willing to do, this can be more interesting. But he says...
He has a media company now. I mean... He's incentivized to say something, anything.
Well,
what can Tom Brady say that would make news?
It's not just a media company. He's being paid $375 million guaranteed, a lot more than he made in his career, to say stuff.
I know. I mean, plus he's also in the process of building his own media company, much the way Pat McAfee and the Mannings have done.
Stupid. Why don't you just take $375 million, work one day a week, and retire? Just
call
go away.
Games, yeah.
Yeah,
Call games.
so easy.
Tell
Why
us
do you
what
need the
see.
stress of this?
Yeah.
Not that easy. Dan, you tell him. Not that easy to just start a media company. Why does he need this stress in his life?
Mm-hmm.
It would be much better to just be able to go to one football game a week for 17
Just tell us what you
weeks
see,
than
man.
having to go and and create an entire company.
He strikes me as a classic crammer also, right? I mean, obviously, everyone will tell us, oh, he studies so hard, he does all this and that. He's going to cram. You don't think he's going to cram?
I have found that basically every athlete who's great tries to be great at this stuff. Like there is not, well, I shouldn't say every athlete who's great because there are some that aren't trying that hard. But the ones who you think are obsessive compulsive about being great, Dwayne Wade or whatever, they go into these fields or these other things after retirement, and they are very coachable about wanting to be coached, like about going around asking questions as if they don't know anything, wanting to learn. And I imagine Tom Brady doesn't want to embarrass himself. So he does say, though, and I ask you guys, is this anything or is it just something because Tom Brady's saying it? I know the Cowboys, how important they are to this network. They've got great storylines. Come on, Dak Prescott. Let's see if he can finally come through. And then he heard the buzz and he just said, did that just slip out?
Yeah. Oops. Well, he might have just had his lips done. You don't know.
Classic Tom.
Did that just slip out?
He could be talking about a tooth.
That is something. That is something because Tom Brady is saying it's something that everyone would say, but because Tom Brady is saying it, and where the bar is below the floor on he's not going to say anything interesting when he says, will Dak come through? Did that just slip out? As if it's a horrible mistake he made because he spent 20 years not saying anything.
Yeah, very benign comment in the criticism category, in the controversy category.
Unless you're Dak.
I'm already dreading the Greg Olsen hipsters. I love Greg Olsen. I think he's fantastic.
Awesome.
Go Canes. I will miss him on the main broadcast in specific moments. But the novelty of Tom Brady, the greatest ever to do it, hopping in the booth and talking about what is unfolding in front of his eyes with his perspective of knowing certifiably, wait, is this the greatest player to ever call a sport ever? Like Wayne Gretzky, he's a studio analyst, but in terms
Michael
of
Jordan hasn't called the game, so yes.
This is not necessarily. This is a pretty cool novelty, such that it is, but it's awesome. At least for 1 week, we get to hear the greatest by far to ever do it. Talk about this, and then we're going to look at the schedule and see when is he talking about the Chiefs. When is Tom Brady going to be scheduled against a Kansas City game? I think that's another reason to look forward to the schedule.
Give me whoever it is that you guys regard as second place on what Mike Ryan is talking about, because I'm not talking about Charles Barkley or studio hosts. I'm talking about a greatest ever who is willing 17 weeks a year to fly into Cleveland for a weekend to call a football game. There's a reason they're paying him the way that they're paying him. He has destroyed what is the salary market for this without having done it. And the reason is because they have to pay in order to incentivize the Michael Jordan of their sport to not be in ownership, but just come over here and talk about it. Be a partner with us on selling this. Be someone who hands the sport over to the young people by being a voice that people recognize. The premium price on that is because he is somebody whose time is that valuable.
Are you saying within football or just within sports?
I'm saying in the history of sports.
Scott Hamilton.
One of the things, that's a good one.
Aikman's up there. Aikman. John McEnroe.
Dude.
McEnroe's a good one.
McEnroe's good, but this is, bar none, the greatest to ever do it. And I'm not even talking, like, studio is a different thing. You get the live play-to-play thoughts of the greatest ever to do something as he's watching games just like you. This is amazing.
Yes.
I can understand having your doubts about it, but can we experience this first? I want to see his first Mahomes game.
It's amazing if he's any good at broadcasting. It's amazing if he says things that are interesting, dare say more interesting than his veiled criticism of Dak Prescott. Because he's Tom Brady, the great all-time quarterback, doesn't mean he's going to be good in his new job.
But even if he's not good, even that has a level of interest. Him dealing with the adversity of his confidence on the field doesn't apply to the booth. What is he going to do week to week to get better? Or is he just going to call it? Is he going to do the Jason Witten thing and just be like, I tried it for 1 year at the peak of the profession, and I'm not cut out for this? Because a lot of people do. You mentioned Dwayne Wade. I mean, I understand ownership got in the way, but a lot of guys get into this new media content game, and they get frustrated inside of 2 years because they're not as in control as they were when they were playing.
Way back when Dan Marino, you may recall, was broadcasting and didn't prove particularly good at it, and so he slowly faded, but he would have been one of those all-time greats to try.
Maybe A-Rod? He called baseball games?
Yep.
Yes, A-Rod would be one of them. Marino wasn't calling games. He was doing a studio show.
True.
That's different. I will say, because you may have noticed this at ESPN, maybe you didn't, in whatever the transition is, the difficulty of the transition for the greatest to find something else they're interested in. ESPN always had a hard time getting the top tier of athlete fame to go fly into Bristol to do stuff. So the guys they would get who were that kind of great, Emmett Smith, Jerry Rice, Scottie Pippen, they were all terrible broadcasters. Like all three of them were really bad at broadcasting, uninteresting, but their level of fame made it so here's a primary voice. You can speak on behalf of your sport. It doesn't even matter if you're any good, but what Mike is saying is true. That guy's never in a booth with wires around his head on the night
off the cuff
on a Sunday, just calling games because Michael Jordan went from what he was doing to no, I want maximum power, and so they end up paying Tom Brady all of the money to do that. But I still ask you guys, I'm the only one here among us who just doesn't care about the schedule stuff. Like, I don't care which game Brady is doing first. I care that he's going to do it, and I will be listening to his first game. But it doesn't matter to me who he's calling.
Oh, it matters to me.
It matters.
It matters to me. When is he going to do an Aaron Rodgers game? Is he going to do an Aaron Rodgers game? Is he going to be scheduled against the New England Patriots? Who knows? This is all very interesting to me. Because I'm a sports fan. I like getting excited about something I'm going to get excited about.
That's unfair what you just said.
So what
to
Mike
me.
is saying is you're not a sports
because
fan.
I don't care about the schedule. I'm not a schedule fan.
Man,
schedule equals games.
just think about how happy. All right,
But I know the
Games
games are
equals
going to be
sports.
played.
It's a bridge, Dan.
So
Yeah.
Sundays, I got my spot on the couch. It's a sacred thing that we go through in this country.
Yes,
We all look forward to our football Sundays.
Yes.
And I
Sport.
like seeing the schedule to come out. That second Sunday in November is going to be a good one. I like that stuff.
It was always Jets and Browns. Remember? We had like a 5-year run.
This is incredible. What a matchup for week one. The Browns never get the 4 o'clock Fox window against the Cowboys. That's a rare matchup.
I think Brady's getting it.
Yeah, but that's just, I mean, you weren't excited to find out that that's going to be your first Sunday afternoon?
I told you.
America's game of the week?
You're not excited yet?
I am not. Your enthusiasm confused me about it. It just
Why?
confuses me.
Eagles versus Packers in Brazil. Neither team can wear green.
Yeah.
Thank you, Billy.
What? It's big.
Because it's a rival.
Yeah, it's banned from the stadium.
It's banned from the stadium.
Yeah.
How about that?
I don't know if you're familiar with these teams, but
What are they
going
gonna
to do in them uniforms?
Alternate black uniforms, road whites.
Watch out for the Pack this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everything in the
Packers back.
NFL is overcovered. You got to realize that. Schedule day's big because everything is big. Rookie minicamp was covered like it's wonderful, heavy news. Yeah. I don't care about rookie minicamp personally, but people do. NFL fans do care about the schedule as well.
Yeah, I must be alone on this.
Yeah,
and
you are.
Can we see the uniforms with the bubble wrap helmet?
Yeah.
I just want to know what my eyes have to get adjusted to.
Again, no, I will just tell you guys that none of this will be like when they're announced. None of these things that you want will be known. None of these.
They will all be known.
No, you don't
Dude,
know.
it's gonna
No,
be
you don't
shocking,
know
the first bubble
You
helmet
don't
that we see.
You don't know what the helmets are going to be. You don't know what Tom Brady's going to sound like. You don't know who's good. You don't know who's going to win. You don't know what injuries they're going to be.
Of course I am. I'm a pig-headed man. I know everything. What are you talking about?
You don't know anything.
I'll see that, and I'll say 10 wins.
Yeah, there it is. That's what you do.